of blame of others continues and builds the conflict and the war and the division. And yet, from the very beginning, God in his love desires to rescue humankind, desires to overcome this failure. And so the promise, I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He shall bruise your head, you shall bruise his heel. But it will be that Christ is able to defeat this power of evil that is symbolized in the tempter and in the forces of evil. And so God desires from the beginning to send his Son, who will redeem the human race. And there's an old legend from the medieval period whereby an angel is sent to the son of Seth, to the son of Adam, called Seth. And when Adam dies outside the gates of paradise, the angel gives Seth a seed, and he plants this in the mouth of Adam. And this will be the beginning of the shoot that will become the new Adam, that will become Christ. And for that reason, sometimes on the cross, we see the Son of God, Jesus, on the cross with the skull of the old Adam at the base. Because God desires to bring about the new Adam who will redeem mankind. This seed grows, and through the Old Testament, the coming of the Messiah is predicted. But the woman who gives birth to the Messiah, who is God, must be full of grace, must be holy. And so in God's plan, he preserves Our Lady from original sin and fully graces her to be the Immaculate Conception. This holiness, this grace of our Blessed Lady is held up for us to remind us of the power of God's grace, so that any sin can be overcome, any imperfection can be overcome through the power of God's grace, the gracing of our Blessed Lady, so that she may become the Mother of God. And that comes about by her act of perfect freedom and the grace of God. So we find ourselves with imperfection, we find ourselves struggling to respond to that will of God, desiring to, but so often failing. We live with imperfection and weakness. And yet, the power of God's grace can overcome that and triumph over that. And today's feast reminds us of the power of that grace, the new life that we have as described by Paul in the letter to the Ephesians, overcoming the imperfection and the sin to one day share in that life of grace with God. Today's feast reminds me of those titles that we hear in the litany of Our Lady of Loretto, perhaps not heard so much today, and yet which can be sources of reflection on the role of Our Lady, the Ark of the Covenant, because she bears Christ in her womb, the vessel of honour, mystical rose, the Tower of David, the Tower of Ivory, all symbols of perfection and grace. And Our Lady is held up to us today as the Immaculate Conception, full of grace, who does the will of God perfectly. And so we pray for that increase in freedom through God's grace in the way that we respond in our daily lives.